Hello, Year 5 and Year 6. Welcome. It is Tuesday and it's English Lessons Live with me, Mr. Phillips. Hope we're doing all right. I know we had yesterday a really kind of long, quite difficult writing lesson, but well done to those people who've already started sending me in writing work from yesterday. It's absolutely brilliant, so keep it up. Also, well done to those people who on Thursday, really listened to when I was saying, right, you need to pause the video after I give you each prompt and write down your own versions of your answers and your own versions of the definitions before you listen to mine. I think some people were a little bit thrown off by the fact they were getting some wrong, but it's absolutely fine. If you're having a go and then listening and then going, oh, no, I didn't get that because of this, this, and this, you're going to get more out of what you're doing with these sessions. So well done to those people. Keep it up. Today we're reading Rise of the Shadow Dragons by Liz Flanagan. There is a copy or a link anyway to this text down in the description. I think it's one of these ones again where we're only going to look at a really small chunk of it, but actually you get loads of it. If you're looking for stuff to read as well, the text I've done with Year 3 and Year 4 today, which is the Wizards of Once, that looks really good as well, and I think it looks a pretty good 5 and 6 standard as well. So maybe go and have a little look at that lesson. You don't need to do the lesson, but go and look at the book, and if you like it, maybe have a read of the extract, see if it's something you want to get for yourselves. So, should we have a little go at predicting first of all? So we've got Rise of the Shadow Dragons, and the only other contextual clue we get is this compass picture. That's the only thing we get. I predict that. What do you think this book is going to be about? Okay, pause the video there, write your prediction down, okay, and then come back to me to see how I would have done it. Off you go. Perfect. Right, make sure you've definitely got a prediction down, because if your prediction is exactly the same as mine, I'll think something might have gone on there. So make sure you've got your own version. Doesn't matter if it's wrong, we're just having a little go. So, Rise of the Shadow Dragons. Well, straight away, I'm getting a How to Tame Your Dragon kind of vibe. Obviously, a fantasy book if there's dragons. Shadow dragons, possibly evil. That's, what you would jump to first. It's the rise of the shadow dragons. So maybe I predict that this is a book about a land where maybe kind of Vikings live, and there are these shadow dragons that have been maybe driven underground or driven away, and they're coming back. The fact there's a compass tells me there's going to be some exploration. So maybe instead, shadow dragons, they might have been like black dragons, but maybe they weren't evil. Maybe they actually protected people, because it's quite a modern compass, that. So maybe there are stories of years and years ago, shadow dragons protecting, and then something happens. Maybe there's a big event, and someone has to go exploring to go and find the shadow dragons to help them solve the problem. That's going to be my prediction. So I predict that. Make sure I start with that sentence. I predict that this story is about a time when shadow dragons used to protect the world. They have disappeared over hundreds of years, and now, due to some maybe horrific event, are needed back to protect humans. The hero of this book might need to go and find them. That's my prediction. Okay, and that's all just based off the title and the diagram. Okay, perfect. So hopefully you've got a prediction, I've got a prediction. Let's have a little read of our text to see how we're doing. So here it is, The Rise of the Shadow Dragons. We're not reading that much. I think we get, you get like 20 pages of this extract. So there's plenty for you guys to be reading. We're only going to read the very, very first bit of it once all the pages load. Oh, I like a book that starts with a map. Here we go, prologue. So I've done a few prologues recently. Prologues are the stories before the story actually begins, to give you some context. We're going to read the prologue and a little bit of chapter 1. Here we go, prologue. Two dragons flew in the darkness. Their breath came in wheezing gasps. Their wings flapped heavily, straining hard with every beat. Their scaly flanks were streaked with blood. "The dragons need to rest," Miller yelled, black hair escaping from her blue scarf. Her face was caked in ashy dust. "They won't make it." "They will. They have to," Tom cried hoarsely, a grim look on his face. "Miller, we've got to reach Arkosi before it's too late." As if to prove his words, a huge jet of hot steam hissed up from the slopes below, narrowly missing his red dragon. She banked sharply, almost losing control. "Tom!" Miller screamed. "Are you all right?" She twisted sideways and urged her blue dragon lower, searching in the gloom. His voice carried up from the darkness below. "See! The volcano is erupting! Right now! There's no time, we have to try!" Sitting low on their dragons' backs, hunched and tense, both riders faced towards the west, urging their exhausted dragons to one final effort. Miller whispered a constant stream of encouragement. "Hurry, Iggy, hurry! If it's the last thing we do, we have to tell them of the danger. We have to tell them what to do." Behind them, the sky was streaked with red gold sparks. There you go, that's how you write an introduction to a story, isn't it? Straight into the action. So that was the prologue. Get another picture here of the book. Chapter 1, 6 months earlier. Ooh, so we've jumped back in time. Johan Thorson was dreaming of flying. His hands gripped a purple scaly neck. The winds tugged his hair. The sea sparkled beneath him as his dragon sped through the air. When he woke, Joe was still smiling. The dream faded and he sat up with a jolt, remembering what day it was. Hatching Day fell on his 12th birthday. His friends Amina and Connor had said it was lucky. And now a dream of dragons? That must be a good sign. Today was the day his life would change forever. By that evening he might have bonded with a newly hatched dragon. He'd be living in the dragon school of Arkosi. His bag was right there, packed and ready. Excitement bubbled up inside him, and he couldn't sit still any longer. He leaped out of bed and pulled on yesterday's crumpled shirt and trousers, leaving untouched the new white clothes that had been laid out for him. They were for the ceremony later. He wanted to run and sing and shout, but it was still early. So he crept downstairs, avoiding the creaky floorboards and jumping the last 3 steps. No noise came from his parents' room. Outside, smoke curled from the kitchen chimney up into a blue sky dappled with pink clouds. He peeked through the crack of the kitchen door. No sign of Matteo the cook, just a large plate of steaming cinnamon rolls on the workbench. His favourite. Joe went in and grabbed 2, burning his fingers. He shoved them in his pockets, feeling the heat spread through the worn linen. Then he ducked through the back door, walked quickly through the garden and climbed the high stone wall of the practice yard where he'd spent hours working on his sword skills. He perched there like a pigeon, looking down over the rooftops of Arkosi, the wind in his face conjuring his dream again. He spread his arms like wings, and his heart took flight. He gazed past the ships docked in the harbour far below, and right out to the pale sea which stretched away in every direction. Today he had his first chance to bond with a dragon. He looked at the sea and imagined flying over it. It was so close he could taste it. It would be just like his dream. Just then, everything grew dark as a dragon glided low overhead, sapphire wings spread. It landed just outside the practice yard with a whump of wings and a crunch of earth. "Mila!" Joe sprang down from the wall and went to greet his cousin. "I thought you were too busy to come today." "Never too busy for your birthday, Joe." Mila tumbled off her dragon, and Joe threw himself at her. "Dragon's teeth! I swear you've grown in a week." Okay, and we're going to stop there. So there is about another 9 pages of this extract that you can read if you like the idea of it. Feel free to do that later. So we're going to have a little go at doing some questions. Now, I'm pretty sure all of the questions are based on chapter 1, not... Oh no, there are, I completely lie. Ignore all of that. There is some questions on the prologue, so you'll have to skip between the prologue and chapter 1. Anything you weren't sure of then, make sure you stop, read it yourself, or rewind to hear me read it again. Okay? So we've predicted, we've read, let's do some clarification. Here are our key words for today. What I want you to do, after I introduce every single one, write a definition for each word that you think is correct. Okay? Don't wait for me to tell you first. Write your definitions down first. So first of all, flanks. It said the flanks of the dragons were covered in blood. What do you think flanks are? Pause the video and write down your definition. Okay. Next one, hoarsely. I might describe how someone speaks hoarsely. He whispered hoarsely, or he shouted hoarsely. What do you think hoarsely might mean? Pause the video there and write your definition down. Word number 3 is bonded. It said that Joe wanted to, or he might by the end of this evening, have bonded with a newly hatched dragon. What do you think bonded means? Pause the video, write your definition down. And the last one is conjuring. It's conjuring up some emotions and some feelings. What do you think conjuring means? Last time, pause video there and write your definition down. Okay, so you should have 4 definitions. Make sure you've got a guess for each and every single one. If you're not sure, go back, find the word in the text, read it in context, so you can come up with a meaning for them, all right? So first of all, flanks. It said the flanks of the dragons were covered in blood. Flanks is basically the side of something. If you flanks can be a noun, but flank can also be a verb as well. And to flank something in terms of armies and war means to go around the side of them. So flanks are the side of something. When it said the dragon's flanks were covered in blood, it means their sides were streaked with blood. So that's what flanks are. Hoarsely. It's an adverb describing how someone might talk or communicate, and it means their voice is gritty and strained. And if you've lost your voice due to like a cold, or you've been doing too much shouting and it's a little bit wheezy, then it's hoarse. Okay, it's gritty, it's breathy, and you've lost your voice a little bit. So that's what hoarse means. And if to speak hoarsely is just the adverb version of that. So gritty, lost voice. Okay. Bonded. Now it said that Joe was hoping to have bonded with a newly hatched dragon, and bonded means to kind of be connected. Okay. In a physical sense, it could mean actually physically connected. So if you kind of bond your hands, then you might tie your hands together and they're physically connected. But you can also be emotionally bonded to someone, and it means you're connected on an emotional level. So that's what he means with the dragon. You know, he's going to be bonded. They're going to have connection. They're going to become friends, and they're going to trust each other. Okay, so bonded is to be connected. And last one is conjuring, or to conjure. Okay, this is a word that is mostly associated with magic, and it means to make something appear. So, to conjure in terms of magic is to kind of make something appear magically, but also we can use it in non-magical settings. For example, the talented chef conjured up a meal, and it means to make something appear almost effortlessly, like out of nowhere. Okay, and if you're saying feelings were conjuring, same thing, they appear out of nowhere. Okay, quite quickly. So there we go, that's our 4 new pieces of vocabulary for today. Flanks, hoarsely, bonded, and conjuring. All great words that you can use in your own writing as well. Okay, so we predicted, we read, and we've clarified. Favourite bit, Let's do the questions. I'm going to move myself out of the way because I'm still over the top of a question. There we go. Now, a little bit longer today. Same thing. have a go, and then listen to my answers. Don't listen to my answers and then just write them down. Okay, because then there's no help there, is there? First one. Find and copy a quote from the prologue which tells us that the dragons were struggling. Find and copy a quote from the prologue which tells us that the dragons were struggling. Now, before you go off and do your answer, can I just bring your attention to that bit? Find and copy. It needs to be a direct copy, okay? Year 5s especially, coming up into Year 6, when it says find and copy, you need to find a copy. If you spell a word wrong or you miss out a determiner or something like that from the text, that's not finding and copying, and you will get it wrong. You've got to copy the quote exactly. And it says a quote, not a full sentence, a small chunk of a sentence. So find and copy a quote from the prologue which tells us the dragons were struggling. Pause there, go and see if you can find that quote for me. Okay? Number 2. What 2 things are special about this hatching day for Joe? What 2 things are special about this hatching day for Joe? There's one obvious one and one less obvious one, so I'll be giving 2 marks for this in case you miss one. See if you can go and find those answers from a text and then come back. Number 3, I'm actually going to change that question because I don't like that question anymore. Number 3 is going to be what evidence from the text suggests that hatching day is important? Actually, no, let's do another find and copy to practice that. Find and copy one piece of evidence from the text to suggest that hatching day is important. That's the new question I want you to answer. Find and copy one piece of evidence from the text to suggest that hatching day is important. All right, pause the video there. Have a go at number 3. Don't forget to keep looking back at the text. Don't try and do it from your memory. Number 4. What colour was Miller's dragon? Red, blue or green? Use evidence, I'm going to say, from chapter 1 to support your answer. What colour was Miller's dragon? Red, blue or green? Use evidence from chapter 1 to support your answer. Pause the video there, off you go. Okay. So you should have had a go at all 4 of those questions now. So it doesn't matter how long it's taken you. You can keep checking back to the text. Yeah, don't just try and keep up with the video because there's no way you would have answered those 4 questions in that small time I've given you. Make sure you pause, go away, have a proper look. Okay, I'm going to tell you the answers now, or what I would say with the answers. So check it against yours. If it's right, give it a tick. If it's not right, write my version down, okay? So number 1 says, find and copy a quote from the prologue which tells us that the dragons were struggling. So I head straight to the prologue because it's given me a signpost. It's told me that it's going to be in the prologue. It's the first question, so I'm going to go to the beginning of the prologue because first questions are normally at the beginning of the text. I start reading from the beginning again. 2 dragons flew in the darkness, their breath came in wheezing gasps. Well, there you go, straight to 1. Got 1. Their breath came in wheezing gasps. If you're wheezing, it's like and gasping for breath. That tells me they're struggling to breathe. Their wings flapped heavily, straining hard with every beat. There's another one. Straining hard with every beat. That means it's really difficult for them to flap their wings. Their scaly flanks were streaked with blood. Now, that wouldn't be one. I wouldn't let you have their scaly flanks were streaked with blood because that doesn't necessarily by itself tell us that the dragons were struggling because we don't know whose blood that is. It could be the blood of another dragon that they fought. You can't have that quote by itself and tell me that means they're struggling. Whereas they were wheezing and gasping, and the fact that they were straining their wings does tell me they were struggling. So I would say it'd be one of those 2 quotes. I'm going to use the quote. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put both down. Don't do that in your real test, though. If it says 1, you put 2, you'll get it wrong. I'll do it for your wheezing gasps. you notice I didn't copy out the whole sentence? I just put the key quote. So wheezing gasps or straining hard with every beat. Those are the two quotes that suggest that the dragons are really, really struggling. It's not an easy flight for them at all. Number 2, what 2 things are special about this hatching day for Joe? Well, I'm going to go back to my text. I know I'm no longer in the prologue. I'm in chapter 1. I'm skimming and scanning. There's hatching day. Hatching day fell on his 12th birthday. Well, there's number 1. The fact that it was his 12th birthday. And then down here, today was the day his life would change forever. By that evening, he might be bonded with a newly hatched dragon. So this is also special because today he might bond with a newly hatched dragon. So, what 2 things are special about this hatching day for Joe? It was his 12th birthday and he might bond with a newly hatched, which is hyphenated, dragon. There we go. If you've got one of those, then you can have a mark. If you've got both, you can have 2. Okay, the third question I came up with on the fly. Find and copy one piece of evidence from the text to suggest that hatching day is important. Now, I've got one in my head. Let's have a quick skim and scan to see if there's any more. You could, I suppose, you could potentially use that quote, excitement bubbled up inside him, so it was important to Joe. Maybe we should try and find a quote that suggests it was important just generally. Here, leaving untouched his new white clothes that had been laid out for him, they were for the ceremony later. So the fact that there is a ceremony attached to the hatching day, that could be described as being important. You could also say that he'd be living in the dragon school of Arcosi. So it's important because it would allow him to live in the dragon school. So you could have any of those options. I'm going to go for the one that straight away came to my head. Oh, it's find and copy. I can't just type my own. Find and copy. So, they were for the ceremony later, I think, is the quote I'm going to use. I'm literally copying it and literally pasting it. Ooh, without a T. They were for the ceremony later, and I'm going to add a little bit just to explain what I mean by that quote. This means it was important because there was a special event following the day. So, we normally have ceremonies for like awards or for really, really key events. The fact that the day was followed by a ceremony after hatching day tells us that it's important. Last one. Nice question to finish on this one. What colour was Miller's dragon? Red, blue or green? Use evidence from chapter 1. Now I said chapter 1 because actually as I was going through the prologue, it tells us specifically. It said that Miller's dragon was blue. But I don't want you to use that quote because that's a boring quote to use. Blue. I know this because in the text it says, now, did anyone find any evidence from chapter 1 to suggest that Miller's dragon was blue? What you should have been looking out for was this. Just then, everything grew dark as a dragon glided low overhead. Sapphire wings spread. The wings were coloured sapphire, and sapphire is a type of blue. Yeah, it's a shade of blue. So obviously it's a jewel as well, but when we speak about colours, sapphire is a blue. Blue. I know this because in the text it says sapphire wings spread, so that would suggest that it's a blue dragon. There we go. I wonder how you did compared to these answers. Give it a little bit of a mark. I'd say 1 mark for this one, 2 marks for this second one, 1 mark for this one, and 2 for this one there. Anything you not got quite right, make sure you put in the correct answer next to it. Okay, final little bit, summary section, which I'll leave you to get on with yourself. It says, what do you think will be part of Joe's new dragon bonding test. So we know he's going to be trying to bond with a newly hatched dragon. What do you think would be part of that test? Maybe do 2 or 3 bullet points. What tasks do you think, it's another predict question really, do you think will come up in Joe's dragon bonding test in order for him to become a member of the dragon school? All right. Thank you very much, guys. I will see you tomorrow, same time, for us to carry on with our piece of writing. See you later, everyone. Bye.